Hello walkers, and welcome to, well, I'm not going to tell you, we've been here before, and I'm going to tell you where we are in a second, but first I want to let you know that it is a breezy Sunday afternoon, late October. Well, my name is Henry. I will be your proxy walker, your virtual travel guide today on this relaxing travel tour, which is what my new little buzzword. And somebody did ask about that the other day as I kind of make my way around and before we start our walk. What does that mean? Well, to me, it doesn't mean I'm going to talk less. Some of you may like that, some of you may not, but it does mean that it's sort of a goal of mine. Like, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do some slow, relaxing travel explorations, very informal, very chill, and very sedate. It is late October, 56 degrees Fahrenheit, 12 degrees Celsius, about 2 p.m. on a Sunday of opening day here in Montana of rifle season. What does that mean? We see a couple guys here in their blaze orange and their hunting gear. They're about to go out and get their elk or deer. It's been bow season, then they had a week off, and now it's rifle season. But I wanted to come up here, which is Suce Creek, now that I can tell you that, which we've been to before, but we've never been up here in the fall. And I've always wanted to come up here and catch the aspen trees, because there's all these aspen. You can tell it's a Sunday because of all the cars and a lot of trucks with other hunters making their way up in here to the, probably back into the wilderness area, which the border of which is not very far. But this will not be tremendously long. I'm going to follow these guys up. It is really nice and warm and pleasant at 56 degrees, but I am wearing a sweater and a hat. I wanted to address a thing. A viewer commented that they really liked the talking, and they were looking at an old one, and it was a nature walk, and I wasn't talking much, and they were saying they might not be interested in this channel if there wasn't talking. I get that. Everybody has their preference. I do the best I can. One of the reasons I enjoy making these is I get to interact with people. I love getting your comments. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, like if you haven't liked yet. But I especially comment with your feedback. It is very valuable to me as I try to make this a better channel. However, as we look around here, one of the effects of that is I only can make any changes or additions or whatever if I get feedback. For a while, I had some people saying, "Oh, don't talk, don't talk, don't talk." So I stopped talking or tried to cut it down, and eventually reached the conclusion that that really wasn't for me. I enjoy talking, I enjoy communicating, and so I do that mostly on my walks, but occasionally I do like to take a break, and I think nature walks in particular like this are a little more pleasant when I'm talking less. So that's kind of the rule of thumb I'm going on for now. Older videos will not adhere to that because I can't go back and change them. And newer videos may change based on your feedback and my own personal preferences. I'm sort of circling around to give you a view of the valley down below. I really just want to show you guys the foliage up here because I've been wanting to do that for a long time, like I said, and a little late, but I'm catching some of this beautiful aspen trees and the willow bushes, and we'll go through some pine, and then we'll make our way down to another little copse of aspen, and we'll see if they have leaves and foliage, and then we'll probably turn around and come back. It's going to be, well, I can't tell you how long it's going to be, but probably less than an hour. So I guess that whole spiel I was giving, If you don't like a video, totally understand it. But I would encourage you to check around. Oh, look at this beautiful color. At some of the other videos, because they do change over time. Look at this. We are having such a glorious fall this year. And I was talking about it with a buddy of mine. We did a big family hike with another family up Deep Creek, which I filmed this summer. And he reminded me that last year, which was such a blah fall in terms of foliage, we had a snowstorm in October, like we did today. Look at this. I think this is snowberry. If I had cell reception, I have an app that could identify that. Oh, excuse me. I've got a runner. What a pup dog. And he was reminding me that last year we did have a big snowstorm, which we got a lot more snow, but also we had 2 days of sub-zero temperatures, which was really what killed all the leaves. And they just all kind of dropped and lay on the ground like kale chips, was the simile I used. Here's a trail and future sign for, I think that's going to be go over to Deep Creek, kind of where we were hiking the other day. So we didn't have that big deep freeze this year, and the leaves have stuck around for the most part. They're starting to come off now. But I'm glad. I love this fall color. I love the warm temperatures. It is a little worrying as we start to see weird weather behaviors. There's a lot of noise in those patterns. I used to film for Polar Bears International, and I have had the opportunity to talk to a lot of polar bear scientists, but also climatologists. And they are very careful to distinguish between weather and climate. And there's a lot of variability, but if you look over time, the trending is pretty clear. There's a lot of correlations to the measurements and effects. And so I have it's not really up for debate in my mind in terms of climate change, human-caused climate change, and there's a lot we can do to fix it. We're starting to make a little progress, and I hope the trend continues. And as John McCain said, worst case scenario, end up with cleaner air. Looks like most of the leaves of these big aspen back here have fallen, which is not, I wouldn't say disappointing, it's a natural order of things, but not as enchanting as I'd like. So this little triangle up on this tree is shot with shotgun a lot, to the point where it's unrecognizable, but it used to be a little cross-country ski trail indicator. And I've cross-country skied this trail, and it's really narrow in here, as you can tell, so you can't really brake very well going downhill without getting your ski off into the weeds here. And so long story short, it is a very challenging trail to cross-country ski for someone like me. Look at this. You'll be walking along, it's all kind of gray and at the end, and then you'll see just this blaze of color like that. I love it. And other than my yapping, and one of the reasons I like to not talk as much on the nature trails, which I'm obviously failing to do today, is the sounds. So I'm just going to take a couple minutes to just be quiet and let you guys hopefully pick up some of these wind in the trees and creaking trees and all that sort of thing. Hopefully the mic is picking that up. There's a big Roman numeral 4 on this tree, and I'm anticipating someone asking about it, and I don't know what it's there for. I don't know if it's indicating something they're going to work on with trail maintenance, or if it's a trail designation, or what it is. I may or may not try and do a little research around that. There's an aspen off to our right here that has some really nice color to it, but it's against the sky looking up at it. I don't know if you'll be able to pick it up or not. On one of my walks, I was commenting about asking for recommendations actually for polarizer filters. And not surprisingly, nobody responded, which is no big deal. I just thought if people had one that they would recommend, that would be helpful. But I found one, really kind of the only one, and so I've ordered it. Probably a little late for some of this fall foliage, but we'll see how that works out. It wasn't too expensive. Here's some more aspens. We don't actually have a ton of aspen in Montana, at least around here. We have some, and it is beautiful, but not like down in Colorado or around Jackson, Wyoming, maybe. I don't know if they have much aspen either, but they are, of course, well, I will say, maybe you don't know, but the largest living entity, living organism, is an aspen tree. Oh, look at these rose hips. So white among the yellow and the, so red among the yellow and the white bark there of that aspen. So these aspen are, I lost an earbud. These aspen are, the way they send out their roots, and the roots send up suckers, and the suckers become new trees, and so they're all interconnected. Maybe not all of them, but many of them. And so you get these big groves of aspen trees, and they're all a big organism, one big plant, which is pretty cool. See some here. There's some with some more leaves down low here. Love these little, whatever pine trees they are. I don't know what species these little guys are yet. That one looks like a spruce in the back. Maybe some Doug fir in there. Even the grasses turn color here, which is nice. So I'm going to go down to the bottom of this grove of aspen, copse of aspen. I don't know what is the difference between a copse and a grove. And then I'm going to turn around and just sort of bushwhack my way back up through them. I think that might be a nice little walk. And I'm not going to get too far off trail. This is a very popular trail. A lot of non-hunter cars, it looked like. We saw a jogger come through. I saw a couple people pulling away. There's that guy here, and this is a pretty well-known trail. Gets busy on the weekends, so I don't think people will be hunting along it too much. I think they're using it as an access to get back into the wilderness area. Here's looks like an 8 and another one of those blue cross-country ski signs. Anyway, I'm not going to go too far off the trail here. I don't want to, one, get shot, but mainly I don't want to hurt or disturb someone's hunt. I know there's a variety of opinions on that. I haven't hunted in a long time, but I used to hunt a lot of birds with my dogs. And not even get into it. So everybody's allowed to have their own opinion on that matter. I'm using this wireless mic, which was super quiet on that last walk that I used it on, even though it sounded to me, I'm gonna go over here. Here's some more of these aspens, some little leaves hanging on. Sounded perfect through the headphones, but when I got back to the computer, it didn't, and I thought I raised all the clips up. A walk may consist of, well, it breaks it up every 5-6 minutes or so. Maybe 8 minutes, I can't remember, it depends. I'm gonna cut over here. And I thought I'd raised all the levels for all the clips, but apparently whatever I did didn't go through. I thought I'd checked. And it's entirely possible that I did something to undo that as part of the lovely editing process. I just want to cut down here to show you guys some more this foliage and this sort of meadow down here. But hopefully I can get the audio right as I walk straight into 15-mile-an-hour winds. Isn't that lovely? Got some good foliage off the left, and then in the distance as well. Beautiful place here in Montana. I'm gonna swing around and just work my way back up through these trees. Ooh, the wind's picking up. Again, this will be a shorter walk today, it's looking like, which is fine. I've got another couple things that I'm working on. Things that actually pay my bills, so I'm not going out and exploring to distant cities as much recently, last few weeks. I just want to point out some bear scat seeds in there. And I'm hoping to do more of that starting in the next few weeks, maybe as late as early December. We'll see what happens. Isn't that pretty? I just love that big splash of color. So vibrant. There's another walker coming up from behind me along the trail. Not quite yet. It's interesting to see some of these trees that have died. And a couple of them look like holes that could be nest holes for owls or woodpeckers. And what's pretty interesting is a lot of times they'll come in after a burn or something and they'll log, or people come in and cut for firewood. But those trees are a valuable resource for a lot of different bird species. As they rot, they attract insects. Of course, they're part of the ecosystem. And then birds come along. Look at these little pine trees trying to burst through, succeed the aspen forest. Anyway, birds come in and then they feed on those insects and make nests. Here's some more scat, moose scat. Trying to turn this into a scat channel, but it's part of the natural order of things. And then of course I said succession, so as a area burns, and this isn't necessarily a burn, it's just a aspen grove. But yesterday where we were walking was definitely a burn, and you can see a series of plants that come through. So it'll be some grasses and then some shrubs, and as the trees seedlings sprout and begin to grow, they'll start to create shade that forces the shrubs and other plants out of business, basically, kills them. They can't get enough light. And then you'll get other tree species that will grow and outpace the shorter trees or slower growing trees. And then, so it's this whole succession, and then eventually you get another fire come through, and the whole process starts again. So these big Doug firs, I believe, are sort of the final species in the succession of species. And you can get, they shade out a lot of the undergrowth, and so you get some really kind of nice open parkland. And in fact, native peoples used to do controlled burns, at least back east, to make them more beneficial to the game species like deer. Isn't that a nice, just a pleasant walk? All this beautiful leaves on the ground. We're on these white trees, and you got the greens of those pine trees, those big Doug firs. There's some spruce in there. And then you've got the reds of the willow and snowberry. We walked past some that I didn't even point out. Kind of right in there. Just beautiful, vibrant afternoon in the woods. You can see why the parking lot's crowded. And you know, I think, as a buddy of mine from Seattle has said, you know what? 10 cars in a parking lot is not crowded. So we are very lucky to be out here. Well, I hate to use that term. We're out here by choice, and we've made sacrifices to make that happen. So the term blessed or lucky, I'm not sure really applies. Oh, there's our other hiker. But it is definitely a perk of living out here. And one of the sacrifices is basically 6 months of winter. So that is on the heels. Winter is coming, as the show says. And we love winter, especially, at least if there's snow. But it lasts a long time. A long time. But in the last few years, we've been going down to Utah, to the desert and the Red Rocks. And we get a little warmth, a lot of sunshine. And that's a nice thing we can do to sort of migrate a little bit. Another part of the succession is one of those big trees will fall, right? They just age out, or they get diseased, or bugs get them, or the wind, and they fall, and they create a big gap in the overstory, and that allows some of these other plants, these shrubs like roses, I see some rose hips in there, and some of these smaller, younger trees, gives them access to the light, and they can start to come in and fill that void. Looks like this tree was healthy, but the wind got it maybe, or wind and water, soil got wet, and over it went. This is actually, you know, I mentioned the 15-mile-an-hour winds. We're actually in the sheltered area down by the river. One of the places I was looking at walking was the Free River access, and it's in the narrow point of the canyon there. And the wind was howling. Oh, cool, look. A little treat, ladies and gents, my fellow walkers. It's a wasp nest. Well, let's look at the shape of it. Now, I'm not going to poke it. If anything, I've learned is don't poke a wasp's nest. But look how cool that is. Beautiful example of a wild nest, papery thin. You know, they kind of make that out of their spit somehow. Leave it alone for next year. Hopefully they'll make it through. Look at all these berries in here, these white berries, the red rosehip berries. Beautiful. I'll give you a closer look at the berries here. These white ones. These are not berries you want to eat. Pretty sure. I think one of the reasons I like fall so much is it's sort of unlike, you know, summer you get green, winter you get gray and white. There's so much change, it's so dynamic. Fall and spring as well, but really enjoy the fall, this sort of changing of the seasons, right? Which seasons are always changing, they're always moving, cycling through to the next one, but I think the colors and then the deciduous trees dropping their leaves, it's a sort of a rapid change and there's a newness about it, shaking things up. Hearing a tree creak over here. The scientific name of aspen trees, I believe, are Populus tremuloides, quaking aspen. Cottonwood trees, I believe, are Populus deltoides. And I was told that's because of the shape of the leaves. They look like a delta. Apologize for my huffing and puffing. This is a little bit steep. These big trees fallen, but not quite all the way. Kind of wedged in around each other. And look how this one snapped right off. But that was loud. Look at the rod and center. Filled with bugs. At least it was. As I've said in previous walks up here, which are mostly done in May, I think May, April, and June, this is a pretty moosey area. I've seen moose up here a few times. Of course, we saw that scat earlier. I'll try to do a little something about that wind. But this mic, this wireless mic that came with the Osmos, at least the headphones, is doing a pretty good job. The Osmo Pocket 2 is what I'm using with the little handle adapter and a Bluetooth wireless mic that comes with it. You can see up high in the distant mountains there, snow has been sticking around, adding at night whenever we get a little precipitation. On our hike yesterday, we actually got snowed on a little bit. Just a little, I don't even know what kind of snow it was. It wasn't wet, wasn't sleet, wasn't big fluffy flakes. Just like those, reminded me a little bit of those dots, ice cream dots. Oh, I love these colors. Isn't that beautiful? $11 cars in the parking lot. That's a lot, but not that much for a weekend, really. Certainly not much for a weekend of opening day of hunting season. We came up here last winter to get together with some folks. There's a couple picnic tables and fire pits over here that you can use. And they closed the road to traffic, but we hiked up with sleds, brought our own firewood and beverages and snacks and marshmallows and s'mores. Had a wonderful, wonderful outside gathering, which was great because it was sort of in the beginning of second surge, I guess. And we were feeling a little isolated after 2020. Okay, short one today, 30-something minutes, 34 minutes. Thank you for joining us up here at Suce Creek, Montana, just outside of Livingston, in Paradise Valley. Windy fall day, but beautiful, beautiful time to be out walking. Opening weekend of rifle season. And we will see you again soon. I'm not sure where I'm going to walk next, to be honest with you. I'd love to get out and cover some more cities. But I'm hoping to do a Halloween walk, maybe, of some sort. I don't know what that's going to mean or entail. It gets dark pretty early up here. And but in any case, we'll hope to see you again soon. Hope to see you guys. We'll be here. And until then, keep on stepping. Suce Creek, Montana.